Ladies and gentlemen, you are listening to Life Well Lived by Amabala Stephen. It's an engaging and enlightening talk show on life, relationships, and the business of life. Grab a cup of juice and just chill. Life Well Lived by Amabala Stephen. Live life. Live fully.
You are now tuned in to this week's episode of our podcast. Today, we are going to interview some of the greatest and most influential minds in our field. By sharing our collective expertise, we will show you how to harness, control, and use your own skill set to achieve ultimate success and live the life you want. And now, please welcome your host.
You tune into Life Well Lived by Amabala Stephen. Now, my show is focused on self-development topics with the occasion of amazing guests who come on the show to share their professional and expert insight. Now, I have on my show today Robert Althuis, who is a change agent, a writer, investor, and a speaker. So welcome with me on Life Well Lived by Amabala Stephen, Robert Althuis.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate you inviting me on the show.
All right. Thank you once again for your time. So can you introduce yourself?
Sure. My name is Robert Althuis. I was born and raised in Holland, actually. I was 21 when I left. I ended up in the States. I spent most of my life here now. I ended up going to school and night school actually, and then later Columbia Business School. And I had the typical beautiful American dream, the career, and I joined corporate America out of business school. I had a lot of success at GE Capital, where I worked for about 7 years. And I had the privilege to work on very large transactions in big business units, and my career took off. And then around the financial crisis, that part of the business had to be shut down, and so I helped it shut down, and then I bought out an asset, and that's how I got into business for myself. So I was in airport real estate. You can imagine airports are just a collection of real estate. So I built all this kind of real estate on airports around the world, and then later on, I also was active in private equity and a little bit of venture capital. So all of that was for about better part of 10 years was my own company, my little boutique firm. And then in 2015, I sold most of that business interest, and I had a big payday. And I got to this point in my early 40s where I was kind of taking stock because I had all the money I thought I wanted to make, and I had the beautiful house in the oceanfront community. I had a beautiful wife and the kids and the cars and the toys and the exotic vacations. And I'm like, I have everything. Now, why do I feel so empty? Why am I not happy? And I was very disillusioned, to tell you the truth, because I had done exactly what, the world told me to do. If you do all these things, you're going to be happy, and you're going to, you have all this stuff, and now you're happy. And I didn't find my happiness in the stuff. I didn't find my happiness in the money. I didn't find it in any of those things. So that kind of prompted a search. Well, if this is not going to make me happy, then what is? And that's what I wrote my book about eventually, called Never Enoughitis. But that became the journey in the last couple of years. Like, if all this stuff they told me that I was supposed to do, that's not going to give it to me, then where do you find happiness? What does that mean? And why do we do all this stuff? Why do we work ourselves to death, really, right? Why are we always measuring ourselves by how much we make, or careers, or how big our house is, and those types of things? Why do we? How does that make any sense, right? That's not our true nature. So anyway, I started going down that path, and became more interested in the spiritual side of things. I still do business. I still have a few businesses, but my perspective on life just changed radically as I kind of delved into these things.
Oh, great. That was a nice introduction. Now, at what point in your life did you decide you want to be a life and business strategist to high impact leaders, entrepreneurs, and investors?
It was probably my mid-20s. I was a tennis pro for a couple of years, and by about 25, it was very clear that I wasn't going to win Wimbledon. I was kind of balancing between playing some tournaments here or there, and then I had to teach to make some money, and it wasn't going to lead anywhere. And so I decided to stop playing tennis, and I got into real estate, and I was good at it. So that was a bonus. And as I kind of learned the profession, I got interested in it. I had a passion for it. It's something I still enjoy, actually. Real estate development is a beautiful profession. And I was lucky enough. I had someone that had a private firm with a lot of business, and he kind of took me under his wing. He became my mentor, and he taught me the profession. Then I went to night school to get my degree. So that's how it got started. It kind of lit the fire under me. And one of the things that happened is that I liked it, but I was also good at it. So it was something that was easy to get excited about because it was something I was passionate about, and I was clearly I had a knack for it. So it's always good to do something that where your natural talents and gifts that we all have line up with.
That's right. That's right. Thank you so much for that. Now, do you want to share any insights on change?
Yeah, well, first of all, change is the only thing there is because, nothing is static in life, right? But we have our mindset, we have this thing that we want everything to be fixed because our mind wants to control things. Our mind always wants everything to be under control. And the reality is in life, very few things are under your control. And if there's anything under your control, it's only really what you do. Because, you don't control what your spouse does or what your kids do or what your family members do, your friends, your boss, your colleagues, and then, the larger world. I mean, we have a lot of influence on that, but, we don't control that, right? So the only thing we really control is what we do ourselves. And change is, this universe is dynamic and fluid. And it is always in a sea of change, but it also oscillates, right? It oscillates from order to chaos. So everything in life has big cycles and small cycles. And, when we start looking at life that way, then we know when things are in chaos that order is to follow. It has to. It's just the natural, trajectory of life. And when we know everything is in order, we know at some point chaos is going to present itself. And that can be a job that you lose. It can be a parent that you lose that dies or something other, someone becomes ill. It doesn't matter how it shows up, but we can just remind ourselves it's always this oscillation between order and chaos. Chaos is never permanent, neither is order. Change is the only thing that's permanent. And so once we get comfortable with change, we develop a different relationship with it. And I think once we let go of this notion that we need to control everything, we can just see the beauty of it. We can see the poetry in it. We can remind ourselves that the world is always working for us. The universe is always in perfect order. There's no coincidences. There's no flukes. There's no accidents. We're not here by accident. And if you want to attribute that to God, I mean, by all means, you can call that God, creator, spirit. I call it infinite intelligence, but, it doesn't matter what label you put on it. If you believe that there is a larger intelligence that is guiding life, then, anything that happens, any change in your life, you can maybe not understand it or rationalize it, but you can say, it must be this way because it is this way.
Oh, great. That's very deep. Now, I'm focusing on our mindset. How does behavioral psychology and mindset, how does it come to play when it comes to achieving personal mastery in analyzing endeavor?
Well, it has a huge play, really. So when we think about behavioral psychology, we're really talking about our belief system, right? A belief system in our subconscious. And our belief system is what drives our thoughts, our prevailing thoughts that come into our mind. And the thoughts are going to give us emotions in our body. That's what we feel. So when we feel nervous or irritated or fearful, these are emotions that are triggered by certain thoughts that we have. Now, whatever happens in our body, that is our emotional guidance system, that's going to fuel our actions or inactions. It's going to stop us from doing things, or it's going to actually propel us forward to take actions. And those actions are going to have results. Now, those results are going to show up and they're going to match the beliefs, because guess what? That's where those thoughts originated from. And as we get the results that match our beliefs, it gets reinforced, because inherent within the notion of a belief is that we believe it to be true. And that's where we get stuck, because if we have a limiting belief that is not actually true, but we believe it to be true, we're living it out literally through our thoughts, our emotions, our actions, our results, and it's reinforcing this limiting belief. So this is where behavioral psychology is really helpful to analyze, why if my results in my life, if my reality is not what I want it to be, now, how did I deduct that? What actions or inactions am I not taking, and why am I not taking it? Well, why am I feeling this way? What are these thoughts? And then you get back to this limiting beliefs. And limiting beliefs are actually very interesting, because a belief is a decision you made at one point. You made a decision. Right. You made a decision about life. You made a decision that, I am not good at math. That's a decision you made at one point. Maybe there was a teacher when you were 6 years old that told you that. Maybe your parents said nobody in our family is good at math, and you just took that as real news. It was like, nobody in my family knows math, so I don't know math either. And now the rest of your life, you live out this limiting belief, right? Because as soon as you're in a math class, you get these thoughts, I'm not good at math. And then your emotional body is like, I don't want to do math, I'm not good at it. And then, you're not doing your homework because you're not good at it anyway, right? And then you get lousy grades in your math class, and you're like, see, I'm not good at math. And so this plays out in our life all the time, in all facets of our life. This could be in our love life. You can say, I'm not a good partner, I'm not a good husband, I'm not a good wife, I'm not whatever. It plays out in every which way. So when we see certain things in our lives that we want to change, we have to kind of dial back. What is driving this? Or what's creating this? And then when we find that limiting belief, it's we can make a different decision. We can make a decision about life, and then find evidence to support that.
Oh, great. Thank you so much for that. Now, it's been Life Well Lived by Mobula Stephen, and here I am. I've been exposed to some deep insights with Robert Althuis, who is a change agent, business strategist, also a writer. Now, I know that you're an author. I want us to talk about epaphroditus.
Right. So the title's Never Enoughitis. And Never Enoughitis is, to me, kind of the disease that this actually all of the world suffers from, because we're always chasing, we're always pursuing more and more and more, because we're trying to fill something on the inside. There's some hole. There's either like a self-worth, or we think that that certain amount of money is going to make us happy, or having a certain house, or maybe being in a relationship is just going to make us whole. And the reality is, nothing on the outside will ever make us whole on the inside. That's an inside job. And so Never Enoughitis is this carousel that we're on, that we're constantly chasing all these things in our lives, and we're just tirelessly chasing. And, we never quite seem to get there. We get little dopamine hits. We get a little happy when we have a new car, or we buy a new house, or, we go on a great vacation, but it's fleeting, right? It's not like this lasting fulfillment. It's just like, we just go right back onto that carousel and just do more work and do more of the same stuff. And, our life just kind of passes by. And we never quite get to that level of deep satisfaction, deep happiness. And that's an inside job. And so that's what I write about in my book. It's the first 2 chapters are about kind of my personal life, and how my career took off, and how I pursued all these things, and how I got lost in all this nonsense. And I did it in a very extreme way. So, I lost my values a little bit. I definitely was out of integrity. I was a narcissistic asshole, to be true. Rich one, but and by standards of the world, I was very successful. But I wasn't a kind person anymore, and I had really lost kind of a connection with myself. And then the third part of the book is what I call Phoenix Rising. It's where I kind of analyze this, and I take a break from all this harried business stuff, and I look at my life, and I examine, like, well, what's if this is not going to make me happy, then what is? Where does happiness come from? Why am I doing this? And so that's kind of the third part of the book, and I go into some spiritual lessons, and they kind of have to do with my awakening, right?
Oh, great! You work exclusively with Humanity Plus businesses. Now, what's the drive?
I'm sorry. Yeah. So one of the things I decided is, there's so many things we do in this world, and we kind of do it mindlessly. And there's a lot of things in this world, including hate and violence and wars and pollution and injustices, inequalities, and we just accept it. We're numb to it. We kind of look at it, but we accept it as this is all of humanity, right? Because we just take a job at an oil company that ruins the environment, and we just like, well, I need a job, I need a paycheck. And we buy oil and gas, and we buy certain unhealthy products, and there's a lot of companies that put a lot of unhealthy products into society. Tobacco companies are one example, but there's many
Yes.
pharmaceutical companies that put a lot of medicine out there that's not really that good for humanity.
That's right.
There's chemical companies, there's all kinds of stuff. And so a humanity plus business is something that truly contributes to society, because I'm not anti-business. I am very pro-business. I think businesses can be beautiful vehicles to advance people's lives, to create obviously abundance for people, and to create a livelihood. And there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, businesses are just an organized form of creating a product. But how we bring the product into the world and what we do with it does make a difference. And
That's
so
right.
I have decided for my life, I want to contribute to things that I call humanity plus business, which is a business that I believe is contributing to humanity, is contributing to Mother Earth, is taking the environment into account, is taking their social practices and standards into account, that pays fairly when they have factories that they utilize in emerging countries, that has the same kind of healthcare provisions and things like that. So there's many different ways through business that we could choose to show up in a different way than traditionally we have been. A traditional business model in the Western society has been just as much profit at all expense, because we're just in the interest of the shareholders. And I think a company has a bigger responsibility. I think we all have a responsibility towards mankind.
That's right.
And there's too many people that get taken advantage of in many different ways through the way we have structured society and business culture and things like that. And I don't think it needs to be that way. I think it can be done in a different way. So those are the businesses that I focus on and that I prefer to work with.
Oh, great. Now to my last questions. What are your views on the impact of COVID-19 on the business world over?
Yeah, it's a hot topic. I've had COVID, so I know what it feels like. And it's still, at the end of the day, it's still just a flu, and I don't want to diminish it or get into that argument about what it is or not. I'm not a big believer in how the world has been shut down, but whenever we see change in the world like this, right, we see big shifts, and there's two ways to look at it. The one way to look at it is, well, everything I had, or my existing business or my existing customers, everything is like gone. But it also means that there's other opportunities, and you can see this already in society or in the business community, that some companies are flourishing. Some companies are doing, gangbuster business. They never had more business in their lives.
Right.
I mean, Amazon, all the online channels, Zoom is an example. So, the question really in a changing situation like this is, how can I change? How can I flow with this? What can I find here? What are people going to need? And, you start asking these questions, because business is always about a need. Like, what is of value to someone? And then obviously you want to do it in an area where you have expertise or skill or interest or passion. So, your best talents and superpowers kind of come together with this need. But, there's so many different areas in the world right now. We've become a truly global world through Zoom and all these calls. We don't have to travel as much anymore. I think we're, as a global workforce, we're becoming much more integrated, even through platforms like all these, everybody's becoming a gig worker in a way, on these creative platforms like Fiverr, you can hire a computer programmer in Pakistan. It's like, you would have never thought about that 5 years ago, but now,
That's right.
You go on a marketplace for creative people like that, and you find some kind of app developer, and if you develop the right skills, you can be in Nigeria, right, and run a global business. You can have clients all over the world. It's totally accepted now. It's like, and there's apps like Fiverr, and there's, depending on your skills, but so, you can ask yourself, like, what are the opportunities rather than, what is going. And there's a lot of things changing. I think travel is not going to come back just as fast. I think tourism will be very subdued because even when the vaccine is fully rolled out, people are going to be more reluctant to travel to exotic places. And
that's right.
It's going to take a while for all that stuff to come back. So, but people are still going to want to be entertained. They're still going to want to work. There's still going to be business. There's still going to be things that need to get done and problems that need to be solved. And so I think there's a lot of opportunities hiding underneath this as well.
Oh, great. I love that person towards the topic. Thank you so much for coming to the show, Robert Althuis. So it's been an amazing time on today's show, really. So why not do this with me some other time for another topic on self-development topics? Till I come your way, I need to stay safe always. For me to you, it's bye for now.
Told you so extra, but I know I'm the same. Yeah. Love me in spite of my trauma. Give me what I need instead of the drama. Cause when it pop off, it's like, oh my, all good all day, but the night we be going so hard on the flip side. So tell me what we on a day, babe. I could keep that same energy when you